Hey cruise team, I promised I'd be back today and I'm glad I kept that promise because like I said last week, didn't do a good job of reaching out to everybody and wanted to make sure I got you some more cruise content. And today I have a video that we're going to do, and we're going to discuss the top 10 things that I do for every cruise that I go on now, to maximize the enjoyment of the cruise, to save money. So again, you're going to do two things if you follow these 10 things, 10 top ideas I have here. You're going to probably save some money, and you're going to have a carefree cruise vacation that you really enjoy. So let's get right into it. Okay, the first two things are optional. And I'm going to start with the drink package. Obviously, if you're not a drinker, this may not apply to you unless you get the soft drink package, which is very affordable, economical, rather than purchasing, pops all the time. You have your pop already purchased in advance, and I'm pretty sure it's unlimited on every cruise line. Where you can just go to any location and get yourself a pop, pay for that in advance. The great thing about cruising is, unlike land vacations, unless you go to an all-inclusive, you are going to pay as you go on that vacation. You may prepay the resort or something like that, but you're going to be paying for meals and food and entertainment and all those types of things. So one of the nice things is you can book a cruise 2 years in advance and start paying on it a little bit each month, or every few months you pay some money and get everything paid for that you want to do on that particular cruise. So my wife and I were both drinkers, and so we have started to do the Cheers package when we're on Carnival, and it's named different things on other cruise lines, but it's not cheap, but the value of it, especially if you're going to consume a number of drinks, is you save so much money. Those people that do purchase the package are in agreement with me. I already know. If you're new to cruising or you haven't tried the alcohol package on whatever cruise line you choose to go on, and you're a drinker, try it. You're going to be surprised how much money you save. And one of the nice things about it is, with Carnival's alcohol package, for example, you get 15 drinks with alcohol, but unlimited non-alcoholic drinks. So the gourmet coffee shop, for example, you can go to the gourmet coffee shop and have unlimited gourmet coffees, and they're Starbucks like quality, or your favorite coffee house type quality. They do a great job of making your favorite type of coffee, and or tea, or whatever else. And then you can get also like Gatorades or pop or anything like milkshakes. So you really do have a big selection when you have the alcohol package, Cheers package, if you're on Carnival, and you're gonna save some money with the cost of the daily package plus gratuity. It usually ends up being around $60 a day. So if you're going on a cruise, just one person for a 7-day cruise, you're gonna look at over $800 for a couple to purchase the Cheers package, and that can be pricey. But again, if you're somebody that has 4 to 5 drinks a day, plus you enjoy some coffees and some non-alcoholic beverages as well, if you just drink that much over the course of a day, at worst you're going to break even. And then if there are days where you like to indulge a little bit more, you're going to come out ahead. And one thing that's also nice is you can try drinks that you may not otherwise have tried. And because you have the alcohol package and the drinks are already paid for, you might try a drink just to try it, and it might be a $10, $11 drink. You find out you don't really like it. You're not too upset about it because it's kind of already paid for. I mean, even though it goes against your total, unless you hit that total, it's not going to be any loss to you in terms of money. right? Okay, now next thing, again, this is an optional choice, but this is something that Anita and I always do when we go on cruise at least once. For example, we go to the steakhouse on every cruise. Carnival has a great steakhouse. I know many of the other cruise lines, they have great steakhouses and other specialty restaurants that, in comparison to land-based restaurants, are crazy affordable. Some people, obviously choose not to spend the extra money at the specialty restaurants. But for example, it's $38 per person to go to the steakhouse. If I go to a steakhouse here in Chicago, a good steakhouse, I'm going to spend at least $150 per person. Once you get your steak, your sides, your drinks, dessert, your tip, everything else, you're going to spend probably in the area of at least around $300. Obviously, you can go to lesser steakhouses and still get a good meal and everything, and maybe save, spend not quite that much, and you spend a lot more. So to be able to go to a steakhouse and have a really high quality steak or lobster, they have some other the fish offerings and things like that you can get as well, shrimp. To be able to go and for less than $100 have an extraordinary dinner, that's just a great value. So I would highly recommend the specialty restaurants, and even cheaper. Like for example, Carnival's brand, they have a couple other restaurants, an Italian restaurant that's only $15 per person, and an Asian restaurant also only $15 per person. So, for about $40 a couple, you can go and, that's including tip and everything, you can go and have a wonderful meal. And, you're not going to spend that much money when you look at the whole cost of the cruise. If you're spending $1,500, $2,000 per couple or more to go on a cruise, what's $40, honestly? And the quality of the food is typically much better in the specialty restaurants than you would find in the main dining room or Toledo buffet or something like that. So I would strongly encourage the specialty restaurants, even though that's an additional charge, and the drink package we already talked about. Okay, number 8 out of the 10, I'm going from 10 down to 1, is to prepay your tips, your spa services, your drink packages, your excursions, if you can. If you're booking through the cruise line, pay it for as much of that stuff as possible, with the exception, and because of COVID and so many cancellations, with the exception of if you have a lot of onboard credit. Obviously you can use the onboard credit to pay for some of those things. But the tips, for example, if you don't have onboard credit that you can use to apply to the tips for all the wonderful people on the cruise ships that serve you, and all those behind the scenes that you don't see that make your cruising experience better, when you pay for everything in advance, obviously you spent the money. It's not like you're getting anything for free, but because it's already paid off, you just go on the cruise ship and you just enjoy yourself. You don't think about money. When you don't have that stuff already paid for, you start to cringe, toward the end of the cruise, thinking how big your bill's going to be and stuff like that. So, my advice would be to, pay as you go along, try to pay a little bit each month. And then by the time the cruise actually comes, you have a lot of that stuff already paid for. Okay. So, next is, and this can save you a lot of money and get you some onboard credit. Coming in at number 7 is to check your cruise rate on a regular basis. Many people don't know this, but let's just use an easy example. Let's say that you and your spouse book a cruise and the cost of the cruise out the door is $2,000. By checking your cruise rate, basically what you're going to do is you're going to do a mock booking. So let's say once a week, on the weekend, whatever, you go to whatever cruise line that you are cruising with, and you book the same cabin, the same type of cabin, same, same everything, and obviously the same cruise, all that stuff, and see how much the cost is. Sometimes they offer different promotions that may be a better promotion than what you actually purchased yours for. So let's say that, you do a mock booking and all of a sudden you see like, hey, if I would have purchased this now, it's only going to cost me $1,800. We paid $2,000. So what you do is you call up whoever you booked it through. If you book it directly with the cruise line, it's very easy. But if you book it through a travel agent, you can also call them and say, hey, how do I get some onboard credit? Because, this is $200 cheaper. Now, I will say that I don't book through the travel agencies. I'm sure they can do something for you. It's always been very easy working directly with the cruise line. I have a PVP, personal vacation planners, with the cruises that I go on, and I just call them and they take care of everything. If there's ever a drop in price, I call up and say, hey, I checked this price and it went down $200, and they'll check it out, make sure everything's the way I say it is, say, sure enough, you're right, sir. You're going to have $200 on board credit because of the $200 price fluctuation. So check the rates daily, and you may find yourself getting some extra money to spend on board that you hadn't even planned on just by checking rates. And you can do it as often as the rates go down. So there's been times where, they've been offering different promotions or whatever, where I went from saving $200 to $300 to $400 and $500 onboard credit just because I checked the rates regularly and they kept dropping in price and got a heck of a deal. So don't pay full price if you don't have to, and get that onboard credit, and that's how you do it. All right, let's move on to number 6, which is to research the ports. Okay, especially you new cruisers, if you haven't been to some of these ports before, you want to know what are the best things that these ports have to offer. And everybody's different. What may interest me may not interest you. So one of the things that I do, I go to Google or whatever your favorite search engine is, and I type in top excursions for Belize. And you will see a whole big giant list, some of them from TripAdvisor, Expedia, and then you'll see private companies and the names of their excursions or whatever. And then you can read about these excursions. Oftentimes you'll see what people rated them and the reviews on them and so on and so forth, prices, those types of things. So you get an idea. It's like, oh, wow, this sounds really fun, or this sounds really good. And you get an idea of what you want to do in that port. Now, that moves us on to number 5, which is researched non-cruise excursions or things to do. Now, I will tell you that oftentimes, I would say the majority of times, we book through non-cruise line tour companies for a couple reasons. One, obviously, is price. We can do the same excursions for a cheaper price if we don't go through the cruise lines. And then some of you, I already know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, well, hey, Coach Cruise, did you know that a lot of these cruises offer, guarantees of prices and things like that? That is true. And I've done that before too. So that's, if you feel more comfortable going through your cruise line, you can do that. So for example, Carnival has a 110% guarantee on their cruise excursions. If you have a cruise excursion that you find from a company that is outside of Carnival, for example, you can email Carnival and say, hey, this tour is almost identical to the one that you're offering, and it's $30 cheaper per person, and we have a family of 4. And they will ask you for the link to that cruise site or whatever that you're on, that cruise company. And if you purchase your cruise excursion with Carnival, what they will do is they will give you the difference of 110% basically. So for example, there's another company offering a tour for $50 and it's $80 with Carnival. Well, you'll get that difference, that $30 difference per, actually $33. You'd get $33 because you'll get the difference, which is 100% 30 plus another 10%, $3 on top of that. So you'd get $33. And if it was a family of four, that's what, 120, 132, if my math's correct, $132 extra. You'll still be doing the excursion with Carnival, but because of the price match 110% guarantee, you actually get $132 worth of onboard credit that you can use. Okay, so that's one way that you can still use by doing your research of other cruise companies, the private companies. You can actually save yourself some money and still cruise with the cruise line if that's the way you feel more comfortable. And some of you may be saying, well, what's the difference? Some people have a fear because the cruise lines like to scare, that's what I like to say, they like to scare their passengers into thinking that they're going to get left behind and the boat's going to leave them. And, you know, if you travel with our cruise company, you're guaranteed, even if your cruise excursion comes back later, whatever, the ship is guaranteed to wait for you. And that's comforting for a lot of people, understandably. But to be honest, I've never heard of a cruise company, a private company, not getting anybody back on time. And when I say that, let me just preface that because I had a scare not too long ago where we did a charter fishing trip, but I mean, that was just us. That wasn't like a big group of people going out, and typically that's what you're going to do. And, you know, I just needed to insist a little bit more of, hey, we need to go back. They weren't pushing us to go back. And, you know, that was on me. That wasn't because of the tour company or whatever. So you'll get back, but, you know, like anything, you need to watch the time and stuff like that. And, you know, make sure that the company that you're going with is going to be back in time. And most times, you know, when you book with these companies, they're aware of what ship you're on. They'll ask you what ship you're on, what time you have to be back, and they usually like to get you back at least an hour ahead of time. They don't like to cut it close because obviously if you were to get left behind, that's terrible for their business and could actually put them out of business. So they don't put themselves in that type of a risky situation. Okay, so moving on. Let's go to number 4. And big suggestion for peace of mind is to arrive a day early. Why do you want to do this? Especially like in every case for my wife and I, or if I've gone with a friend, we have flown in. So for flying in, obviously planes are no guarantee, especially if you're flying in bad weather. They can be delayed, they can be canceled. So we always come a day early. And it's just an extended, you know, vacation. It's one extra day of vacation that you have to enjoy in whatever city, port that is. If you're going to Florida, you know, it might be Miami, it might be Orlando, Port Canaveral area. You have New Orleans, you have, you know, if you go on the West Coast, you know, Long Beach, LA area, Seattle. I mean, there's ports all across the nation if you're traveling domestic. And it's just one extra day that you can enjoy. If you get there early enough, you can enjoy the city, the port a little bit, and then look forward to waking up at whatever your check-in time is to get on the ship and be there as early as you can so you can start enjoying the ship as soon as possible. Those people that they're flying in, you know, there was a lot of problems with people flying in. I know there were some horror stories about Spirit Airlines in the last cruise we were in, and some people were actually planning on flying in a day early, and their planes got canceled, just flat out canceled. And it was going to end up with them either really risking that the airline that had already canceled on them was going to come through for them the next day and get them there right before the ship was to cruise, or what they eventually ended up doing was they just got in the car and they drove for like 20 hours, you know, to make sure that they could get to the cruise, you know, port on time or whatever. So yeah, it's risky. So you want to plan ahead and make sure you get there a day early, and it gives you great peace of mind. It's totally worth it if you can, you know, get that extra day worked into your schedule. Okay, finally not finally, we have 3 more. The third one is to use the cruise apps. You know, that's a wonderful thing about the technology. I know a lot of people don't like to use their phones, and if you're old school and you like the old paper copies, you can still get those. But it really helps out your day, and it really helps you maximize your enjoyment if you look at the schedule. And it's kind of fun to do too while you're having breakfast or whatever else. Just kind of look at the day's events of what's going on the ship, and put a check mark or a heart or a star or whatever by all the events and activities that you think will be fun, and work those around dinner or lunch or whatever else. And what you find is as you maximize your day and you really enjoy the whole day, and you do some things that you wanted to do, and then you don't miss out on certain things. If there's a period, on a sea day, for example, where there's like 3 hours and there's nothing really that you have planned, but maybe you wanted to take advantage of the sports courts and do some of the fun things that they have there, like the miniature golf, or different ships offer different other activities depending upon which ship you go on, obviously, that you might want to try out. And that'll be a good time because there's a 3-hour window there where nothing's really going on that you're that interested in. And then obviously when there's something interesting, you plan and you do that, whether it's a playlist production or hairy chess contest or quest or whatever that may be for you. Okay, now finally we are to our final 2 tips that I have for you, and coming in at number 2 is YouTube. So you're on here right now getting some cruise advice, and there is a ton of cruise advice. I have no problem recommending other stations. You've heard me do it. I do it myself. I've done it for years, and I enjoy doing it. And there's just a lot of wonderful channels out there that have kind of helped me grow a little bit. You've heard me talk about Derek over at Island Time. He's given me some good advice and helped me out, and he's grown, really big. Tony Lolita Loca has helped me out and given me some advice as well. And JJ Cruise has reached out, and we haven't talked formally, but we had some nice comments for going back and forth between us. And so yeah, it's the cruise creator community is actually a really nice community, and nobody is kind of backstabbing each other or anything like that. So it's one of the things that I've really enjoyed getting into the cruise creator community. But YouTube tours of the different ships, and there's multiple on almost every ship. So especially if you're going onto a ship for the first time, it's great to do a tour before you actually even get on the ship, because then you get to see all the different things that are available on that ship, and it's not a mystery. I mean, obviously some of these ships are just so massive that you can get lost on them. You really can. And there are hidden little gems that if you don't do a tour of the ship when you get on, you might miss it. I'll never forget going on a ship, and we enjoyed the adult only areas on some ships, and it was the final day, or one of the final, it was either the final day or the second to last day, and we stumbled across this really nice adult only area, and we had something going on, so we couldn't enjoy it, not even for one day, because we found out about it so late. That was early on in my cruising days or whatever, but I'm just like, oh my God, this has been here, and we just found it, and now we're gonna get off tomorrow or not be able to have fun doing this and relax and everything else. So make sure you do the ship tours. Go to YouTube, type in the name of the ship that you're going on, and get a full tour, and then just say, okay, I'm gonna go to this restaurant, I'm gonna go to this pool, I'm gonna go play miniature golf, I'm gonna go do whatever it is that you find on that ship. If it's a bar that sounds really interesting or whatever, you make sure that you cover that, and you have it all planned out, so you can navigate the ship quickly, easily, and maximize your enjoyment on the ship. Finally, my last tip, and this one can basically cover all the advice, because you're going to get advice from hundreds of people potentially. And that is to join a Facebook group. It never fails. Every time I get on a ship, I talk to sometimes hundreds of people over the course of a week or however long I'm on. And so many of them don't do this, but join a Facebook group. It's very easy. If you go into search, you could do something like for example, the next cruise that I'm going on is the Carnival Pride on December 26th. If you were to go to Facebook right now and do a search for Carnival Pride December 26th, it would pop up. Sometimes there's multiple pages. There'll be, a couple different administrators that have started a page, and the closer you get to the cruise, obviously the more people join in. But usually even months out, there'll be, say, 100 different people on a particular cruise page. Often, and it's usually what I do, as soon as I book a cruise, I go find a page if somebody has started it, and I join the group. And then people ask questions like, oh, if I'm driving, where can I park? Or, what's a good hotel to stay at? Or we're coming in a day early, what are some good restaurants that we can go to? Or, anything related to the cruise. And then also you have, within those Facebook groups, people plan events, fun events, get-togethers, myself being a teacher and a coach. There's oftentimes teacher get-togethers, and, a bunch of people from schools get together, and we have some drinks and some laughs and everything and have a great time. If you've been following me, you've seen me do multiple pub crawls, and we have one planned, and I put it down for the December 26th group, and those have been a blast. So, slot pulls, that's another popular thing on the Facebook groups. And a slot pull, if you don't know what one is for you gamblers out there. Basically, everybody puts in a set amount of money, and I think basically whoever gets the top amount, you get one pull, all of you get one pull each, I think is how it works. And whoever gets the top amount gets a certain percentage of the money, and then you split up the rest or something. I think there's different rules, but that's typically kind of how it works. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Honestly, I haven't done many of the slot pulls. I'm more of a table player person, so I stick to like the blackjack and the craps and those type of things. But yeah, so it's a great tool to find out about the ship. And what you'll find out in there is that there's a lot of very experienced cruisers, and there's also a lot of cruisers that might be brand new, and they're just learning along the way. And people share funny little things about the cruise, and yeah, it's just really good. It's probably the best thing to do, that you can get any question answered that you might have, in addition to all the other things I mentioned. So that's all I have for you. I kept it under 30 minutes. It's about less than 3 minutes per item there, but I hope that was beneficial to some of you. For those of you that stuck through all the way to the end, and I hope there was at least a couple of these that gave you some advice or whatever that you may not have already known or whatever. But again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber already and you've watched all the way to the end, I'm guessing you found this useful, because otherwise you wouldn't still be here, right? So if you haven't already, if you could hit the subscribe button, I would be very, very pleased with that. And welcome to the cruise team. And for all those of you that are already subscribers, I look forward to getting back to you very soon, and have a great week, and we will see you soon.